Heading fast into 2020, the mayor of Jacksonville for most of the 1980s joining us. Jake Godbold reflects on his accomplishments, the decision to demolish one of his crowning achievements in the landing, and he even explains a memorable interaction with President Trump long before he was in the White House. What does Mayor Godbold have to say about current events in Duval County? We're going to find out on This Week in Jacksonville.
Good morning, and thanks so much for joining us. So today, a look at Jacksonville history through a first-hand account of a man who has seen some of the biggest changes and developments in the city's history. The book is titled simply Jake. It's a biography of the former Jacksonville mayor, Jake Godbold. He grew up in the Brentwood Projects, went on to lead this city through one of its most remarkable periods of growth, prosperity, and development from 1978 to 1987 as the mayor. So the author is Mike Tolbert, a former Times Union political reporter, a former mayor's aide, and a public relations specialist who became famous for having downtown streets painted various colors to promote different city events. And for those of you who are new to our area, Godbold was the mayor who began the quest for NFL football. That was in 1979 with Colt Fever, and now legendary bid to attract the Baltimore Colts that ultimately landed the Jaguars with us. His billion-dollar decade, as it was called, brought us the Landing, the Riverwalk, Metropolitan Park, restoration of the Florida Theater, the conversion of the Union Terminal into the prime Osborne Convention Center, the arrival of the Mayo Clinic, and the Jazz Festival. So lots of different accomplishments, lots of different things that we're going to be focusing on. So welcome to Mayor Godbold and my colleague Tom Wills, who has covered every single one of these history-making events that we describe and hear about in your book. Tom?
He's been here a long time.
That's a little bit of what we just said.
Good and the bad.
It was so much fun to read what is now history that was then news. And Kent, thank you very much for having the former mayor and me on your program here this morning. I wanted to let all of you know, though, first, before we begin our conversation, that when my friend Mayor Godbold left office here in the late 1980s, he and I became personal friends. Our families became close personal friends. And my wife, Gina, and I are among 30 friends who made contributions to the publication of this book, a story that we believe all that should be told to everybody here in Jacksonville for future generations. I wanted everybody to know that.
And Mayor Godbold, what is the big takeaway for you when you see your name, Jake, on the front cover of a book, and you know that this is something you've worked with Mr. Tolbert on for a while to get some of these stories down? How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm very proud of it. And to tell you the truth, I was a little, I said, Mike, what is it? When he went to print, and he said, I said, what's the title of this game? And he said, Jake.
Yeah,
and
pretty simple.
I was a little wait a minute, that's not going to sell, Jake. Maybe that's just trying to say too much, you know? Maybe Jacksonville or the mayor or something, but Jake.
Well,
but it turned out pretty good.
There's a big subtitle there, too. May I?
Yes.
So, yes, Jake is the title of the book, but it says then subtitle. The last Southern populist mayor who transformed Jacksonville, Florida from a sleepy city with an inferiority complex into a dynamic metropolis with a can-do attitude. That is a really expansive, comprehensive kind of subtitle there. But you are known for the accomplishments of that almost a decade in office as mayor, and you've served in public service long before that as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, I work for a company, Independent Life, that Mr. Bryant promoted that. And I would have never...
Public service component.
Yeah. And I would have never ran for the office if it hadn't been for him. The first thing, all I wanted to do when I came back from Korea was I wanted a family, and I got married, and then I had adopted a baby, and I wanted to make a living, and I was making a good living. But Mr. Bryant wanted his young men to be involved, and that was... You got to go join the JCs, you know, it's the junior chamber. It's where the young man has a chance to have a voice and everything. He said, and I didn't want to. I wanted to work. I wanted to make commission. And he said, well, you'll make a better man and a better salesman, a better company man. You'll be part of the community. And we pay your dues, too. And he said, that kind of said, you better go sign up. So I got into JCs, got me really involved, and I became president of JCs, and that kind of got you around the politics a little bit.
That set up some of your public service, right?
Yeah.
Tom,
were there subjects, Mr. Mayor, that you asked Mike not to write about in this book?
No,
For example,
no,
your 57-year marriage to your wife, Jean. Did you ask him not to write about your marriage?
No, no. I never told him anything about writing. All I did was when he came to me with the idea is I said, it's not going to be believable if we don't write about the grand jury.
Yeah.
So, and that's the down part. But I want it to be factual. I want it to be true. I said, I'm very excited about reading about Tip O'Neill or Kennedy or Reagan. And I always like to read the history of how this happened and everything. I said, take them behind the door. Take them inside City Hall. Show them that you know about the landing. You know about these other projects you're talking about. But how did they happen? You know, how did there's the sweat and the tears and the fighting and the good and the bad. I want the very big factual. It took him 2 years to write it.
Tell me about that news conference that I covered over at City Hall. You came into the conference room, you mentioned the grand jury. I'd never heard a political leader before or since say what you said. You walked into that room, you looked at us reporters, and you said, and I'm quoting you now, you said, I'm embarrassed as hell. You remember that?
Yeah, yeah. And you know...
Tell everybody what you were embarrassed about.
Well, I was embarrassed that it, you know, I was embarrassed that it happened, that I was going to go in, and I always felt like that the only way to get in trouble was you take a bribe. Well, you got 3,000 employees, you got all kind of things going on, you got all kind of developers, you got all kind of people you're working with. You can't control all of it all the time. But I dotted the I's, crossed the T's, and came out of it unscathed.
Yeah.
And I was happy about that. But I wanted every detail about that in the book. Yep. Now, Mike just didn't listen to me. He went out and interviewed a lot of people, including you, I think, and a lot of people that were involved in a lot of these projects, because we were kind of different than they are today. The times have changed. We used the media. The media used us. They kicked our butts when we needed. And I'm a very firm believer of the media. Don't ever fight. I mean, don't ever try to get rid of the media, whether it's good or bad. I don't know what our country would be like without somebody looking over our shoulders, whether it's me or whether it's Curry or whether it's Trump. But we need somebody looking over our shoulders. But I was embarrassed that it happened at all. And that it came up.
Mayor, I want to make sure that people understand when you get this book, because it's got all this history in it. Chapter 32 is what we're talking about. And so, as you just mentioned, there are the details of what you're talking about, what was embarrassing, what was maybe scandalous or controversial at the very least, and a lot of great information in there that even maybe pertain to what's going on today. So we're going to keep talking about this, and we're going to come back in just a moment. But we're talking this morning about Jake Godbold and his time leading the city of Jacksonville. We're also going to hear his story about putting Donald Trump in his place long before Mr. Trump was president of the United States. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
At Farrah & Farrah, everybody has a team working on their case.
When you hire one attorney at Farrah & Farrah, you're really hiring 60.
We make ourselves very accessible. They've hired us to do a job.
To help take away some of those burdens.
And that job doesn't always end at 5 o'clock. We take their problems and we make them ours.
Because they need help.
When you're in for the legal fight of your life, you want a team that has that kind of commitment and stability.
We will be there.
We're here for you. That's what I'm here to do, is help.
Farrah & Farrah, here for you.
Here for good.
We weren't happy with our bathtub.
But we didn't want the headaches of demolition.
Or the days without our bathroom. Then a friend told us about Bath Fitter and their unique tub-over-tub process. There's no demolition, and they install in as little as a day. They also have a seamless wall for a watertight fit. And Bath Fitter has a lifetime guarantee. What a difference. Finally, a bathtub I love.
When a storm comes through, I talk to my son and my daughter, and I say, listen, Dad's going to be away. And they understand that. They understand Dad's going to help other people.
What are we trying to do for the people is give them a lot of hope. They're saying their neighborhood's coming on.
We're not done until everybody's power is restored. For my younger daughter, you know, it's tough. I hope that she goes back one day and says, you know what, Dad did what he could for the community, and this made a difference.
When people need our help,
we answer the call.
What we achieve for patients is life-changing.
You get your smile back, your confidence back in just one day.
A new smile at a price you can afford.
With the dignity and respect you deserve.
Don't wait another day. Nothing is more life-changing than a healthy, confident smile.
Now get 10% off all dentures and $100 off each implant. This offer ends soon. Call 1-800-DENTURE today.
Hey, Mercedes, how about letting your hair down a little? How about a car for people who don't play golf? Hey, Mercedes, mix it up a little.
How about something for a guy who doesn't want a corner office?
Hey, Mercedes, I don't even own a tie. I think I need a mahogany dashboard.
Hey, Mercedes, can you make it a little cooler in here?
I'm setting the temperature to 68 degrees.
We hear you. We made a car that does too. The 2019 A-Class, starting at $32,500.
When your day is racing by, when there's an important local story that needs to be told, when you're ready to take a moment to catch up at the end of your day, watch News 4 Jax every night at 5 and 6. Focused on breaking news, who bring stories to life that you just can't get on a phone. Local voices who know what you care about, who are better prepared to explain why those stories matter to you. When you want a news team who understands why local is what matters most, watch News 4 Jax every night starting at 5. You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
And we're joined by the subject of a new book called Jake. Pretty simple here, Jake Godbold. And I'll tell you what, there are lots of great stories in this book. Even better to hear them in person. Tom, you were telling me that there's one you think a lot of people won't know unless we hear it this morning.
Well, I've heard most of Mr. Mayor's stories many times before, and it was a joy reading them again, going down memory lane. But I have to say, I had not heard, or you had not told me before, the story about you in the mayor's box when Donald Trump was here as the owner of the New Jersey Generals. Now, tell us that story.
Well, there was two things that we had. One time Trump was here in the box, and then the other time was we had a big party for and hosted all the USFL owners up at Amelia Island.
Fred Bullard.
Fred Bullard owned the Bulls, and we had some good teams out there, and he had a good team up there in New York. And he had all the money. The other guys were rich, but not his rich. And they really thought he was trying to buy the NFL or something. You know, he was throwing up such good players against them and everything. But we had a big conference up there, and you know, really when we went in this meeting with the owners and everything. Trump was kind of like he was today. He knew more than anybody, and he had all the answers, and so you know, I didn't ever think he'd be president. So I just tell him, well, you know, you're from New York, I'm from South in Florida, and I'm running the meeting, and you're just going to have to stay in line with the rest of the owners, you know, and he quieted down, and we got along, but.
You told him to quiet down, and he quieted down?
Yeah. But those were different. He wasn't president.
Now, tell us about the Crab Shack.
Well, the Crab Shack, it was the Crab Trap.
That's right, the Crab Trap. I'm sorry.
In Ferndale.
Sorry, my apologies to the Crab Trap.
Yeah, and we were all hosted by Mr. Cooper, who
owned Amelia Island
Plantation. And that's where everybody stayed. But this was a side thing where the Crab Trap closed the whole business down for the owners and put us upstairs. And Avonda was there, his wife at that time. And is that right, Avonda?
Ivana. And you said she had all kinds of jewelry on.
Yeah. Well, she stripped all that stuff and everything, and she was just delightful, and he was delightful too there at that thing, and they just laid out everything. And I remember laying out shrimp and crabs and boiled crabs and everything. They thought that was the big meal, and everybody, all the owners had such a great time. And then they came in and they brought fish, and the other owners just had a wonderful time. The next night, Tom, Amelia Island hosted a steak cookout down at the point on the river. And they cooked steaks outside for us and everything. the owners went away happy, including Trump. One of the happiest moments I've been around him. And so they had a great time.
Show those owners a good time. And so that's almost ages ago, but really some of that interaction with the USFL and having the Bulls here really showed the NFL that, hey, we could be a big-time city. And, of course, we've got the Jaguars now, and what you did there was really, really helpful. So I'll tell you what, we've got some great stories that we're hearing about. We're telling you about the book. I want to hear about some of your views on current events here in the city of Jacksonville as well. So we're going to step away for just a moment. More with Jake Godbold when we come back, including his view on the future of the city of Jacksonville. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
Nothing brings us together quite like breakfast at McDonald's. Your morning starts here. Try the new sausage gravy and biscuit with country-style gravy.
If you've been injured, you will need a law firm who will think about you and fight for you like family. Not like you're a number or a file, but a person. That's what we do. Call us, Harrell and Harrell. Don't settle for less than you deserve.
Looking for fresh, informative health news? Go to BaptistJax.com and click on the Juice section. Test your health knowledge with our monthly quiz from Baptist Health. Go to the contest page on News4Jax.com and you could win a $25 gift card.
Oh, wow. Never smelled lavender this fresh before. Honey, you gotta come smell this lavender.
Angel Soft with fresh lavender scented tube. It's all you'll notice.
I bet some people watch these ads and say, that could never happen to me. I don't smoke that much, so I'm not really a smoker. Well, I didn't think I smoked that much either, but I still got oral cancer, and it came back twice. Now I have no jaw and no teeth. My tip is, if you smoke, you're a smoker, just like I was.
Quit your way. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com.
Here's your Buick, sir.
Actually, that's my Buick.
How are we gonna fit in your mom's Buick?
Easy.
I like that new Buick.
Me too.
I was actually talking about that Buick.
I knew that.
Did you?
Buick's fresh new lineup is full of surprises. Kick off football season with Buick. Current eligible non-GM owners and lessees get 20% below MSRP on most 2019 Buick Encore models. Plus, well-qualified buyers get 3.8% APR financing for 72 months.
Whether your beauty routine is 3 steps or 57, make Nature's Bounty Hair, Skin, and Nails Step 1. It's the #1 brand uniquely formulated for silky hair, glowing skin, and healthy nails. Nature's Bounty, because you're better off healthy.
Severe weather demands attention. The Weather Authority on News 4 Jax. Always watching, always tracking, unleashing an unmatched arsenal, attacking your local forecast with high-powered precision, watching every front, alerting you before floodwaters surround your neighborhood, tracking every system, pinpointing the problem areas to avoid on your commute, standing up to every storm so you don't have to fear severe. The Weather Authority on News 4 Jax. Always watching, always tracking.
Nothing brings us together quite like breakfast at McDonald's. Your morning starts here. Try the new sausage gravy and biscuit with country-style gravy.
And thanks for staying with us this morning. The Honorable Jake Godbold, former mayor of Jacksonville, is with us, and Tom Wills, esteemed colleague here at Channel 4. So this has been fun. We're talking about what's happened, what your involvement was in the development of Jacksonville as it stands now. I want to talk about current events a little bit here. In this past year, about a year and a half ago, I've got a letter here that you wrote in April of 2018. It was addressed to Mayor Curry, and it talked about where, from your view, things stood with a potential sale of JEA. And at that time, a year and a half ago, the mayor was saying, no, I'm not for it. But there were still rumblings and, hey, what's going on behind the scenes? And so I highlighted some of these things. You said, hey, Mayor, I want to be helpful. I think this whole thing with JEA is hurting you. It's been botched since the beginning. Your credibility is being damaged. Your motives are being questioned. And there's a mean-spirited to it, a spiritedness to it. So that's a year and a half ago. Then just several months ago, this spring, you also wrote a letter, and it was a column. and you addressed, hey, here's how I think things are. And you've been a little bit critical of the current administration. I guess as Tom and I have talked through this, we wanted to know, what has the response been? Has the administration or anyone in the mayor's office reached back out to you and told you how they feel about some of those things?
The Curry and I met prior to the election. He wanted Delaney and John Payton and John Delaney and my endorsement.
Other previous mayors, sure.
And he had Missouri's endorsement, and he wanted our endorsement. And we met with him individually, not together, individually. And when I met with him, he had Hughes with him. Hughes did most of the talking.
That's the former chief of staff for the mayor, now the chief administrative officer.
And I told him if I was going to endorse him, that he had to promise me in writing that he would never sell the JEA and our water and sewer rights. And we had Mike Talbot write him a letter that he would, what he'd have to say. He didn't agree with that. Hughes didn't, and wrote us back and said, well, we appreciate your endorsement, but we're not going to go out on a limb and say this. So he really didn't use Delaney, mine, or him, because all three of them said about the same thing. And so that was about all the conversation I've had with them since then. Even in the landing, they've never talked to me about the landing, and they shouldn't have to. They're the mayor. I'm not the mayor. And if he decided he wanted to tear it down, I guess the people voted for him and everything. I don't agree with it, but that's my personal view.
Well, I guess that's one of the things I would ask you. How do you feel about, you were there to see the landing become this iconic centerpiece of downtown, and now we're seeing it in the early stages of being demolished.
But my feeling is entirely different about some of these sites than what the mayor's sites of his feelings are today. My feeling was that sooner or later, Tom, the shipyard was closed, and that was going to be developed. We knew the Gator Bowl was going to grow. We knew that the courthouse and City Hall was getting old, and we'd move out of there. All up and down Bay Street was going to be developed. So my thought was, as we visited different cities, to look at what they were doing to save the riverfront. Baltimore, San Antonio didn't have a river. They had a big ditch that they dug and put some water in it. So successful. And the mayor there, San Antonio, said, oh, Mayor, if you'll give me your river, I'll give you my Riverwalk. Well, I knew what he was talking about. Here's a great river. Why don't we develop it, and use it? So I felt like that I wanted to take some of that land and set it away at Redstone, at the mountains up in the federal park. There's a sign that says, the land of the public now and forever. I want to set some land aside that would be now belong to the taxpayers for now and forever, and thinking that future mayors would build off of it and leave those three parcels, the Riverwalk, the Landing, and Metropolitan Park, for public use for good times, carnivals, music sessions, the Beach Boys, the good times down there, free, because we did it with a federal contract that said it had to be public. Now they're trying to change it and give it away and how to get the federal government. The Landing was the biggest, best company in the country, has developed. The biggest downtown developer there was Rouse Company. We were lucky to get them. And the Riverwalk from San Antonio, we built that. But that was supposed to belong to the public. Good time, Georgia-Florida game, Gator Bowl game, concerts, the city of partner with whoever owned it.
The Landing was synonymous with a lot of those events. And those.
And the thing that Schaefer said, the mayor of Baltimore said, make the Rouse Company build you a special type of building with special design, not a big box. The one in New York was a big box. The one in Miami's a big box. The one in Baltimore is a big box. So the round orange top, and Rouse knew what they were doing. Yeah. And it got out all over the country. That was our sad, and so many good times. I hope whatever he's going to build there will be for the public and not a bunch of grass where one or two people could come to. That should be our heart.
Mr. Mayor, last December at your annual quail roast, your Christmas party that you've been hosting for as long as I can remember, Mayor Curry was there. I was standing right behind him when he looked out at you and spoke most warmly toward you.
He did.
Have you had any personal conversations with the mayor since then about anything at all? Any phone calls, anything?
Only the election when he wanted my endorsement.
Yeah.
I can't remember any other call that I've had to
How about the council president, Wilson?
I'm real close to him. I've been close to him all my life. And
you were pretty rough on everybody in the council concerning this sales tax.
Because I was really mad about it. And I felt it wasn't just for the public. I felt personal about that. I was here when the charter was drawn, the first consolidated charter.
Yeah,
I wasn't part of writing it, but I thought they did a wonderful job in separating the government, the independent authorities, and they're supposed to be independent authorities, not if I point you, my blood, your blood are together, and you got to do what I say.
Yeah.
You put those over there, and the charter had it written that way. It's not that way anymore. And everything comes from City Hall now. And I felt that the school board is elected by the public. They ought to control if they want to put a tax on the public. The public, the council used to pass a tax, and you didn't even go to the city.
So you want the school board to put that referendum on the ballot?
On the ballot, because I think they're cheating me for my chance to vote, yes or no.
Well, that has been the topic. I appreciate hearing from you about that. We're going to run out of time here. But
nothing about JA.
Boy, if we only had time. Yes, sir.
That's the big problem today. I hope we can come back one day and talk about that.
I appreciate your time. So as we've been telling you, there's a new book out. It's called Jake. It's about Mayor Jake Godbold, and we appreciate the time. Tom, thank you so much for helping make this happen. And,
thank you, Tom.
Well, it's just been...
Enjoyed your show. Always enjoy it on Sunday morning.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. And thank you for being with us. This Week in Jacksonville airs each Sunday morning at this time. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4 and the CW17 and online at news4jax.com.
More people in Northeast Florida and South Georgia get their news from News 4 Jax than anywhere else.